It's been a few months since I have done a long form video on the transfer portal, but there has been some massive news this spring in the transfer portal window. I'm just going to go through every single position group, and I'm going to start off with the quarterback position. Now let's start off with Nico Iamaleava. He transferred to UCLA. This is a guy that is a former 5-star quarterback. He was a first-year starter for Tennessee in 2024. He was pretty solid, but he still has a lot to prove. I'd say he underperformed a bit. But his decision to transfer to UCLA is very interesting. He didn't like the system at Tennessee that much, so he decided to go to UCLA. And his younger brother, Madden Iamaleava, will also be there with him, so it's going to be very interesting to see what the Iamaleava brothers can do at UCLA. Another big player to enter the portal is Gio Lopez, and he transferred to North Carolina. Gio Lopez was one of the top group of 5 quarterbacks over the last couple of years. For South Alabama, he had 3,000 total yards and 25 touchdowns, and this is a huge get for Bill Belichick. Quarterback was a huge need for this North Carolina team, and they got themselves a very good dual-threat quarterback. Trinidad Chambliss is a name that will not be talked about a lot, but he transferred to Ole Miss. I know he played for a Division II college football team, but he did win a national title there, and his stats are very good. He had 2,900 yards and 1,000 rushing yards and 25 rushing touchdowns as a quarterback. I think that is very good and unbelievable. I think I have to give him a shout out. Even though he played at the Division II level, I'm very interested to see if he plays somewhat of a role for Ole Miss in the future. So I did have to give him a shout out. Another top quarterback in the portal is Steve Angeli. He was the backup to Riley Leonard at Notre Dame last season. He had showed some great flashes last season, even in the playoffs. But he must have got beat out by CJ Carr at Notre Dame. CJ Carr could be a freshman sensation. He has been rumored to land at Syracuse. Syracuse is definitely the team to watch for Steve Angeli. And the last big quarterback in the spring transfer portal window that I want to talk about is Joey Aguilar. This is a guy that was basically a trade for Nico Iamaleava. He transferred to Tennessee. He was the former UCLA quarterback. Look, maybe this is a bold take, but I'd say Joey Aguilar has the potential at least to be an upgrade from Nico at quarterback. This is a guy that I think is underrated. He had a great career at App State with over 7,000 career yards. He's a solid dual threat quarterback, and when he's at his best, he's a very good quarterback. Let's move on to the running back position, and Oklahoma picked up a top running back in the portal in Jaden Ott. Jaden Ott was one of the top running backs in college football over the last 2 years. He was very injury prone in 2024 and it held him back. But let's not forget in 2023 he had 1,300 rushing yards and 200 receiving yards. This is an excellent pickup for that Oklahoma offense that has a lot of question marks. Former Colorado running back Isaiah Augustave went to Virginia. He was Colorado's leading rusher from last season and really helped out their rushing attack. He should be a lot better in a more run-heavy system because Colorado really didn't run the ball a lot. And Isaiah Augustave is a tough runner and a solid pickup for Virginia. Ole Miss picked up a 1,000-yard back in Damian Taylor from Troy. He won all Sun Belt honors and he should contribute to that Ole Miss backfield. This is definitely a good pickup for Ole Miss. One of the most under-the-radar players in the transfer portal period is Shamar Brown, running back from South Dakota State. It might have been North Dakota State, but it was one of the Dakota States. But regardless, this is a very under-the-radar name, and he could be a monster breakout next season at the FBS level. He had 1,181 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns last season, and he was 2024's Freshman of the Year at the FCS level. This guy is an absolute beast, and he's going to be very good wherever he lands. Rashad Amos had a quiet 2024 season, but he is transferring back to the Group of 5 at Georgia State. This is a very solid pickup for Georgia State. He transferred to a Power 4 school, a very good Power 4 school in Ole Miss last season, but he didn't have a great year. But let's not forget in 2023, he had 1,000 rushing yards in the MAC. So him heading back to a smaller Group of 5 school should really help him out. He should have another big season, and this is a good pickup for Georgia State. One of Kentucky's biggest needs was the running back position, and they got themselves a solid back. They got Seth McGowan. Seth was a very good back for New Mexico State last season. And he's also a threat in the passing game, so watch out for this guy. Another big running back in the portal is Josh McCray. This is a guy that ran for nearly 700 yards for Illinois last season. He was a big-time running back for them, and he was the Citrus Bowl MVP in the bowl game against South Carolina last season. Kirby has been working in the portal, and running back was one of the positions that they could really use. And they got themselves a beast to help out the young Nate Frazier. So that Georgia running back room should be very good next season, and Josh McRae is a great pickup for Kirby Smart. Now we move on to the wide receiver position. The Louisville Cardinals already have a stacked receiver room, one of the best in the ACC. I'd say one of the best in the country, to be honest. But they picked up another solid receiver in Dakari Collins from NC State. Louisville has a great quarterback in Miller Moss, a stud running back who should break out in Isaac Brown, and they have a stacked receiving core. This is a team to watch next season. The number one available receiver in the portal right now is Trevor Pina. He had just under 1,000 receiving yards for Syracuse last season, and he is a very good receiver. He does have ties with Penn State. If Penn State is able to pick up Pina, this would be a massive get for them. Penn State has just about every position filled, but if they can get a great playmaker in Trevor Pina, that could help them out drastically, because wide receiver has been a weakness for them in the last couple of years. So Trevor Pina is definitely a name to watch, and I'm interested to see if Penn State can pick him up. Former 5-star receiver out of high school Micah Hudson entered the portal. He did transfer to Texas A&M earlier this offseason, but he entered the portal once again, and he is rumored to be heading back to his previous school in Texas Tech. And I don't blame him for heading back to Texas Tech. This is a team that has great talent heading into next season. One of Cincinnati's top playmakers from last season, Tony Johnson, entered the portal. This will be a name to watch out for. He wasn't crazy, but he had just over 400 receiving yards, and he is a decent playmaker. A guy to really watch out for is Keelan Marion. He is an incredible special teams player and an even better wide receiver. He was a top target for BYU last season and a top receiver in the portal with a bunch of offers already. This is a guy that is an All-American, and he is going to be very good wherever he lands. Houston picked themselves up one of the most underrated tight ends in the country. His first name is Tanner. He's from Ball State. I'm not going to try and pronounce the last name, but he's definitely one of the best tight ends in the portal and very underrated. I know he only played at a group of 5 school, but having 94 catches at the tight end position is very impressive, and he had over 800 yards receiving as well. This guy could be a monster tight end for Houston next season. Texas has been working in the portal. They are acquiring some great talent. And they got California tight end Jack Indries. He has 1,000 career receiving yards already, and he is a top tight end in the transfer portal. Now we move on to the offensive line. There's only one name that I really want to give a mention to. I'm only trying to cover the big names that most people know, or at least the names that people should know. And the only offensive lineman I want to talk about is Joe Cotton. He is from the FCS level. He's a 6'7", 315-pound lineman, but he was an FCS freshman All-American in 2023. He transferred to Cincinnati. This is a huge pickup for Cincinnati on the offensive line, and this guy should be very good. Now let's talk about some defensive players, and let's talk about the edge position. Texas Tech has the number one transfer portal class according to 24/7 Sports, and they got David Bailey. He is the top edge in the portal and a monster pickup for Texas Tech. He was Stanford's highest graded defensive player in 2024. This is a guy that is very speedy off the edge. He has 111 tackles, 14.5 sacks, and he has 7 forced fumbles in 3 years with Stanford. That is incredible. Texas Tech should have a much improved front seven in 2025, and David Bailey should be a huge factor to that. South Carolina already is a dangerous team heading into next season, especially on defense. They have the young sensation of Dylan Stewart returning, but they got another guy with massive potential in Damon Clowney, the younger brother of Jadeveon Clowney, former number 1 pick. Damon Clowney was a solid edge for Charlotte last season, and he could be a lot better next season at South Carolina. You pair him with Dylan Stewart, and this could be one of the top edges in the country. Another top edge in the portal is TJ Bush, former Liberty standout edge, and he transferred to California. In the last 2 seasons for Liberty, he had 90 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, and 9 pass deflections on the edge. That's pretty good. He was a freshman All-American, and he's a huge pickup for a Cal defense that was already a lot better last season. Edge Elo Modozi is a name to watch out for. He doesn't have crazy stats, but if you watch the guy's film, he made some great plays last season. And he transferred to Georgia, so Kirby Smart knows what he is doing. He had 34 tackles, 6.5 sacks, and a pass deflection in 2024 for Army. So definitely not bad stats, but nothing crazy. But I still think this is a big-time defensive pickup for Kirby Smart. And the last edge I want to talk about is Beau Atkinson. He is projected to land at Ohio State, so this would be a huge get for Ohio State on defense. This is a guy that is a 6'6", 260-pounder with 54 tackles and 11 sacks over the last 2 seasons. There's only one big defensive lineman that I want to talk about, and that is Murad Watson. He was a freshman All-American defensive tackle for Syracuse in 2024. He had over 30 tackles and a sack, and he transferred to Texas. He's the top defensive lineman in the portal to watch this spring, and he is a huge addition for that Texas defensive front seven. Now we move on to the linebacker position. There are a lot of great linebackers to talk about, so let's start off with Sanders Ellis. He transferred to Purdue. Purdue doesn't really have a great transfer portal class, but they've been picking up some under-the-radar names and players with a lot to prove. But Sanders Ellis has already proved himself at the FCS level. He still has more to prove, but he's definitely a good player. He was one of the best players at the FCS level. He had 86 tackles and 15 tackles for loss as a freshman in 2024. So Purdue has been picking up some sneaky transfers, and Sanders is one of those huge pickups. Another great linebacker in the portal is Gary Bryant III. He's an all-conference linebacker with over 100 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions in 2024. He's another big-name linebacker to watch out for, and he's already had visits to USC, California, West Virginia, and Syracuse. So those are some notable programs. I believe the number one linebacker in the portal, according to On3, is Andrew Simpson, Boise State linebacker. In his career, he has had 150 tackles, 36 tackles for loss, 15 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, 5 pass deflections, and 3 fumble recoveries. This is a guy that can do everything on defense. He has heard from a ton of schools, and this is a guy that is going to start anywhere he transfers, and he's a big name to watch. Tamir Robinson transferred to USC. He's a very good linebacker, but still kind of unproven. He's a former 4-star who was getting a lot of spring buzz for Penn State. He was expected to take a massive step forward and start for Penn State in 2025. He was expected to play a bigger role, but now he's a big name in the portal, and he transferred to USC. And another one of the top players in the portal is BYU linebacker Harrison Taggart. He still has not transferred anywhere, but he is a big leader for that BYU defense. He had 69 tackles and made some big plays for BYU last season. And the last linebacker I want to talk about is former North Carolina linebacker Amari Campbell. He posted 72 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, and a forced fumble in 2024 for North Carolina. Now let's move on to the cornerback position. Julian Neal was a solid name of the portal, and he transferred to Arkansas. He's a former 4-star and one of the top cornerbacks in the portal. He had a pretty solid year at Fresno State last season. One of the top players in the portal period is Jeremiah Wilson. He is Houston's former top cornerback and top defensive player. He is one of the top coverage cornerbacks in the nation. He had 4 interceptions and 5 pass breakups last season. He will be a great playmaker wherever he lands. Now let's move on to the safety position. Terrence Love was the top available safety in the portal according to On3, and he transferred to Colorado. He's a highly talented safety who has played in 22 games for Auburn over the last 2 seasons. This is a good pickup for Colorado. Kennedy Urlacher is the son of the legendary Brian Urlacher. He is a highly coveted recruit. We didn't see much from him for Notre Dame last season, but at times when he was on the field, he was making great plays. I think he just got lost in a loaded safety room for Notre Dame. But don't be surprised if this guy plays a massive role for USC next season. He is very talented. But here we have it. We have made it all the way through this video. Hopefully I'm not missing any important players, but the last player I want to talk about is safety AJ Halsey. He was also from Houston. He's another top playmaker on that Houston defense, and he has had an excellent career at Houston so far, and he's one of the top names in the portal. But there you have it. That is going to do it for this video. I probably didn't cover every single player, but I tried my best and I did my research, and I wanted to give you guys a legitimate update on the spring transfer portal window. But let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content. And we basically cover everything on this channel, so definitely consider subscribing. And also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.